Namaste and welcome to Detours with me, Anuradha Goyal, where I talk to some very interesting personalities about journeys of all kinds. Namaste and welcome to Detours. Today we have with us Shri Kapil Sharma ji, who's doing a very, very unique work. He runs an organization called Say Trees, which is based out of Bangalore, and he is planting trees through this initiative. All the lakes in Bangalore, you go to their website and you see the pictures of the lakes of Bangalore that have been beautified by them using trees. And they have been running this initiative now in multiple cities, multiple regions of the country, and not just Bangalore. So I thought this was an absolutely brilliant a karma yogi who's actually doing what he's saying and not just talking about it from various platforms. So I wanted Kapil ji to come on Detours and speak about his experience. How did he start? So Kapil ji, welcome to Detours.
Thank you so much, Anuradha ji.
Thank you. So Kapil ji, let's start with you are an IT professional and you lived in the IT hub of Bangalore, pretty much where the nerve center of the IT industry is. And you started working on trees. How did that happen?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting story, and whenever I tell the story to people, they just feel that, oh, this is something amazing. So I'll just reiterate the story again. I moved to Bangalore in year 2001. I was doing my engineering in Bangalore,
Mhm.
and I just fell in love with the city because of so much greenery all across.
Right.
So if you can imagine how Bangalore was in 2001,
Right.
I just fell in love with the city. Right, I come from a place where summers are very harsh, but Bangalore then had no summer at all. It was so awesome. Right, I remember I used to call my parents during summer, and I used to tell them that it's such an amazing weather here, and it's probably raining in evening, but in my place the temperature used to reach 47, 48 degrees. That's what Bangalore was. And when I passed out from college, I started visiting my office from one end of the city to other end. I started seeing many trees being brought down overnight.
Mhm.
I used to see one day the roads were completely covered with trees. Next day, the road were completely exposed to sun.
Mhm.
Right? Since I was in love with the city so much, when I saw these trees being brought down, I just felt very bad. I was basically shattered when I saw those trees being brought down. Right? Something struck me so hard that I could just not ignore it.
Mhm.
So what I thought was, I should do something about this. Majorly for two reasons. One, because I did not wanted Bangalore to become like any other cities which are very hot, and which are having a lot of harsh climate conditions. Second is, I did not want it to regret later on, or 10 years down the line. I did not want it to regret that I could have done something back then.
Mhm.
Because of these two major reasons, I thought that I should do something. As a concerned citizen of the city, I should do something for the city. Right,
Right.
the city has given me my education, the city has given me my job, so this is the least I could do. So I started visiting government offices
Mhm.
on weekends, because
Mhm.
Monday to Friday used to be my office hours. So
Mhm.
I started visiting these government offices on weekends to see what can I do, what can a common man do for the city. Right, I did not wanted to just consume what the city is giving to me. I wanted to ask, what can I do for the city. I could meet some amazing people back then in the BBMP offices and in the
Mhm.
forest department. They suggested me that I should start planting trees, and that's what I did. I
Mhm.
started by planting one tree back in 2007, you know, to
Mhm.
some more in the next year, and so on.
Mhm.
This is basically the story. This is why I started all of it, because I could not see Bangalore,
Mhm.
our garden city, being
Mhm.
converted into a city where the summers are so harsh and all the weather conditions are in so much extreme. Right,
Mhm.
from a very pleasant city, I did not wanted Bangalore to become like other cities where there are a lot of problems, right, related to
Mhm.
weather conditions.
Mhm.
Even though it has turned true now, it has already turned true in last 17 years, but this was the intention. I just did not want it to see a Bangalore which is not like it was in 2001. this was the main reason for starting, what I did back in 2007.
Very interestingly, I first moved to Bangalore in 2002. And one of the reasons I loved the city was its trees. You know, you go to Cubbon Park, and there were these tree-lined roads where, it was such a pleasure to drive through them with trees shading you. And I left the city in 2009 and I came back here in 2022. And the city is so different, especially the region we live in. So and I definitely I see some lakes rejuvenated. I do see some greenery. The AQI levels are definitely better than most other cities in the country. But yes, it can do with a lot of trees and the rest of the country also, because we are in the process of concretization. This development is equal to concretization is the mantra at the moment. So there is absolute cutting down of trees. But then, thankfully, trees is something that you can grow again. I also, with that, I also, you've spent so many years with trees now, planting trees, working with different kinds of agencies in planting trees, setting up a volunteer-driven organization in planting trees. So I want to understand from you firsthand that what do you see as the cultural, ecological, economical, and aesthetic relevance of trees in a society?
So I always say that, trees have invaluable benefits, right? These are invaluable because we may not realize it,
Mm-hmm.
just because, we cannot see those benefits. But the benefit of trees are huge. And it
Mm-hmm.
also depends on where the trees are, right?
Mm-hmm.
A trees in an urban space
Mm-hmm.
is bringing a different set of benefits to us, and trees in the rural space are bringing a lot of different benefits, to the people in rural spaces,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the living conditions are totally different in these two places.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. In a rural space, there will be a lot of open areas always.
Mm-hmm.
But in an urban space, you don't have space. You don't. Everything is so cramped up, right? Cities are becoming more and more concrete jungle.
Mm-hmm.
So trees play a different role in different geographies.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on where we plant them.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it in school,
Mm-hmm.
they play a different role because a trees in school will give shade to the kids during their
Mm-hmm.
lunchtime. They'll give fruit to the kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? So trees in different places bring different benefits,
Mm-hmm.
which which we can feel basically. Apart
Mm-hmm.
from that, there are many invaluable benefits which tree bring because they're helping us replenish water, they're helping us cleaning air and whatnot. Everybody knows about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, uh, the moment you start planting trees in a neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
right, we can clearly see the difference in the surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if we talk about urban spaces,
Mm-hmm.
having trees in urban spaces
Mm-hmm.
is connected to our mental health as well, as
Oh,
compared
interesting.
to no trees being there at all. There are studies going on in US also, where people are saying that they see a contrast difference between communities where there are no trees and communities where there are a lot of trees,
Hmm.
right? So apart from economical benefits, because if there are more trees, you'll not feel a lot heat and those things.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of things that we get, we get a peace of mind from these trees,
Hmm.
right? If you walk in a place where there are no trees as compared to walk in a place where there are a lot of trees, you
Mm-hmm.
can yourself feel the difference.
Hmm.
And this is happening because trees bring so much to us,
Hmm.
right? And that is why they are so important. They are
Hmm.
very, very important. We may not feel their need in our day-to-day lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
because we are so busy in 10 different things.
Mm-hmm.
But the trees are still there working around the clock,
Mm-hmm.
making other things, okay for us, basically. Other
Mm-hmm.
things okay for us so that we can function nicely in a day-to-day, in our day-to-day world, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, they do bring a lot of benefits,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are planting trees in rural spaces also. Rural
Mm-hmm.
spaces, they are bringing financial benefits to the farmers.
Mm-hmm.
We are planting fruit trees with farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from enriching the soil, apart from increasing moisture in their soil, apart from making their soil better,
Mm-hmm.
right? Trees, from these trees, fruits are coming out, and farmers are able to sell these fruits and earn a parallel income,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I can go on and on, right? But these are some very, very basic things
Mm-hmm.
which trees are doing for us. And within say trees, we are trying to make sure we pick the best that trees can give to us, and
Mm-hmm.
then plant these trees in those specific regions. For example, we are, as I said, when we are planting with farmers,
Mhm.
We are planting so that farmers can benefit from it.
Mhm.
If you're planting in cities, we are
Mhm.
planting so that the cities don't become concrete cover. Cities
Mhm.
just don't become concrete jungles. We are
Mhm.
planting schools. So in schools, we plant fruit trees so
Mhm.
that kids can benefit from the fruits,
Mhm.
right? So we try to see what quality of the tree
Mhm.
is applicable to which location, and then we plant those trees there.
So, I read a lot of Indian scriptures, and I was very recently, I'm reading Mahabharat in original, the whole 100,000 verses. And at one place where it talks about dan or charity, so planting trees is also mentioned as one of the charities that you can do, which gives perpetual results, right? And it mentions, very interestingly, it mentions six different type of trees. It mentions trees which are like big trees like people tree, banyan tree, mango tree, neem tree. Then it mentions something called gulm, which are small trees, you know. Then it mentions two types of creepers, lata and valli, bale, the one which climbs up and one which goes horizontally. Then the fifth is bamboo, and trees of the bamboo family. And the sixth is trin, which is the grass family, all the different types of grasses. So six types of trees, and it says that you need all six of them around you in a jungle. A jungle is not complete without these six types of trees. Even a neighborhood is not. And I know I'm somebody who writes a lot on temples. I study temples, and I have like a series of books on temples. And vatikas, or gardens, were or sacred groves, were a part of the temple culture. So a temple could not be complete without a water body and without these sacred groves and these vatikas. If they were in an urban area, they'll be like vatika, like a garden. If they are in a rural area or a hinterlands, they would have their own sacred groves where the diversity was maintained. So I see these cultural elements as something that can help. What do you think about these cultural relevance of trees, which can help in sustaining the biodiversity as well as sustaining the plant cover? So, for example, we use tulsi in a lot of our rituals, everyday rituals. So you typically end up seeing a tulsi plant in every home. So what do you think about the cultural relevance, which essentially is a means to maintaining biodiversity
Correct.
around in our surroundings?
True. And I do remember someone telling this to me long, long back
Hmm.
that, all the oldest trees you can find around temples,
Absolutely.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah. You just go to any temple and you will see the oldest trees.
Right.
So I believe again, I mean, I'm a passionate nature lover,
Hmm.
but I believe that yes, historically,
Hmm.
culture has played a role in making sure that,
Hmm.
people understand the importance of trees,
Hmm.
right? Because even though back then,
Hmm.
conditions were not so bad, climate
Hmm.
change was not so, extreme,
Hmm.
but still people felt the importance of these trees, and they said to everybody that, you should plant trees. So
Hmm.
culture has played a very important role in making sure that people understand the importance of trees, right?
Okay.
We don't have to wait for conditions to become so worse, then we start, working on it.
Right.
That's what I feel people have done in past, that, even though everything was fine, but you still keep planting trees because they knew the importance of these trees,
Right.
right?
Right.
So yes, as I said, it has played a very important role,
Hmm.
right? And I just hope that people take it seriously going forward as well, because
Hmm.
people need to understand. See, culture tells us what is good for us and what we should follow, and things like that, right? People have to understand that these trees are doing so much good for us,
Hmm.
and we cannot ignore them. These
Right.
cannot be ignored. These are very, very essential part of our life.
See, my understanding of culture is that what culture does is it makes a part of your life. It embeds the notion of anything that it wants to embed into your life. It puts it into your rituals, it puts it into your systems where they will ensure. So now if you need a people tree to get rid of a shani dosh, let's say, then you will ensure there is a people tree around you. So instead of saying, so in my opinion, the reasoning logical approaches work to a certain extent, and I'll give you a very 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 crude mundane example. A doctor can tell us to diet no matter what, and somebody will come to your house, or you visit somebody, else say, you eat today, aaj kha lo, kuch nahi hoga. And you end up slipping, saying that you find your favorite jalebi or something, and you say, okay, let me eat it today, and I'll diet tomorrow. It doesn't work. The logical, you understand, it's not that you don't understand the benefits, pros and cons, but it doesn't work. But the moment you say I'm fasting, everybody pulls back. Nobody tells you to eat. You have that sankalp, that commitment inside you, that it works. So I'm extrapolating that to trees, to see that if we can bring in the cultural relevance, which may work better than the simply educating logical reasoning, rational reasoning. That's what I'm trying to understand from you.
Yeah, so what you said is right, right? But I have never seen it from that lens. As I said, right,
Okay.
I'm just passionate about it. But what you are saying makes sense, right?
Yes.
It makes sense, when people have historically, when people did not understand the importance, culture came in and it made things part of our life,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I do get what you're trying to say. But
Mm-hmm.
my thinking had been totally different. I just made sure that it has to be done, and it is very
Mm-hmm.
important. And my way of teaching people has been a little different,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just wanted to make sure that people come plant trees with us,
Mm-hmm.
and they come every year and see the tree grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because when
Mm-hmm.
you see the results of your efforts,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you feel like, oh, I did such an amazing work, I should do it more,
Absolutely.
right? So that is what
Absolutely.
my approach has been. I wanted to make sure that, I wanted to spread awareness to as many people as possible. That is why we made sure that we could have done plantation ourselves. I could have just hired few people to help me planting saplings every weekend. We could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we made sure that we start volunteering events.
Mm-hmm.
We made sure that people come and plant trees themselves. People then come back and water these saplings also.
Oh,
Because when you're putting efforts, right, then you
right.
expect the results that, okay,
Right.
I put so much efforts. Now I want my tree to grow.
Right.
And then after 5 years, when you come back and see your tree is grown,
Mm-hmm.
it's a totally different feeling that people get. Because
Absolutely.
unless you get people involved, they might just not understand it. But the moment you get them on ground, the moment you have soil in their hand, the moment you have a tree in their hand, and then they come and plant during monsoon, then come and water the saplings during summer, and they
Mm-hmm.
keep doing this for 2 3 years, and when they see that, oh, tree is so big,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I feel, then it goes into their head that, you know my
Mm-hmm.
few hours of volunteering has done such an important thing for the city and the nation. I should do more. That's
Right.
what my thinking has been. But
Right.
I don't disagree with what you said. I totally agree with what you have said. And as I said, you go to any temple, you will see the oldest trees being present in the temple,
In fact,
right?
as somebody who documents temples, I would like you to extend your volunteering drives to include temples, because in urban temples this is lost, and bring
Hmm.
back the
True,
culture. And
true,
it
true.
is such a beautiful way of bringing biodiversity. So every deity has some trees and flowers associated with them. So in
Yes,
their
yes.
temple, you end up planting them. So it's a beautiful, beautiful way. And it's also a local source of using flowers, rather than
True. That
getting
is true.
flowers from a distant place. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hoping that. So the reason I'm sharing it with you is with the hope that you'll extend your, circle of influence and include temples in them, and hopefully
Oh, yeah, yeah,
we'll
yeah.
start planting trees there. And I'll
We
be
are
happy
happy
to,
to,
maybe I'll be
yeah.
happy to join hands in
No,
whichever
we
way
are happy to
possible.
plant, yeah, we are happy to plant trees wherever, possible, everywhere possible, and make sure that they
Right.
grow,
Right,
right?
right. Since we are talking about plants and biodiversity, I want to understand, in a place like Bangalore, what are the typical trees that you recommend people should plant, if people have to just listen to this and start planting a few trees?
Correct. So there has been a lot of, trees which have been planted in Bangalore. They have been
Hmm.
experimented,
Hmm.
right? But the most important trees to plant are the native ones,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
We have to plant, for example, honge is a tree which you will find in HSR layout. A lot of honge trees are there, right?
What is the other
So
name of this tree?
I think it's called Pongamia.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, it grows slow,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a very sturdy tree.
Mm-hmm.
Like this. So what we do is,
Mm-hmm.
whenever we are creating these Japanese forest using the Japanese techniques, the
Mm-hmm.
Miyawaki forest,
Mm-hmm.
we select more than 40-45 native species of saplings
Mm-hmm.
and you plant them in a given area.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been making sure that we choose native species.
So, what are
So
the
if
typical native trees of Bangalore? About 5 to 10 trees, if you can tell us.
yeah, so for example, honge is one tree which we always plant,
Mm-hmm.
and we can always go with neem,
Mm-hmm.
banyan, people.
Mm-hmm.
These are common trees which are amazing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Then tamarind is a tree that we have planted a lot. Jackfruit is one tree which you can see in a lot of places,
Mm-hmm.
right? So these are some trees. Mango, I mean
Jamun,
mango, not too much.
jamun,
Yeah,
jamun.
jamun also can be planted, and
Yeah.
we have also seen amla also being planted,
Right.
right? So
Right.
these trees not even give shade; they are bringing fruits also.
Mm-hmm.
So right, so these are some of the very sturdy trees that I am talking about. Right,
Mm-hmm.
there are many that are being planted across Bangalore, but if we specifically want few names, these will be the few names that I would suggest. And
Mm-hmm.
then we also suggest people trees based on the spaces they have.
Right.
Like if somebody wants to plant very next to a boundary,
Mm-hmm.
then we have to choose something else and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you plant a banyan tree, it is going to grow very
It
big,
is going to. Mm-hmm.
right? So in
True.
open
True.
spaces, like say if we are planting trees in a lake
Mm-hmm.
where there is a lot of open space, for sure we'll plant one banyan tree,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is how we choose trees that have been planted. But yes, the forest department nurseries in Bangalore are amazing source of saplings. If anybody
Oh.
is interested, they can go there. People will be ready to guide,
Can
right?
you
And we
tell
can
which
we can
where are they? Uh,
now there are the forest department nurseries are in multiple places. In
mm-hmm.
fact, BBMP also has nurseries where they every year they grow saplings,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there are in multiple places. If you
Okay.
you can just Google them, right, and you
Okay.
will find the forest department nurseries, and
Okay.
they will be happy to help with anybody who's interested in planting trees and taking care of them. The taking care part is the most important because planting tree is the easiest thing that can be done,
Right.
right? It's just as I always call it, just the tip of the iceberg. The
Right.
most important or the thing for which maximum efforts are needed are maintenance.
Right.
So I always say anybody can plant a tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not it's not a rocket science, but the maximum efforts are needed in maintenance. So
I'll bring
we have
back
to make sure.
yeah, I'll bring back a cultural element here.
Mhm.
So one of the things that is said for donations is digging lakes and step wells and wells for water. And it said that if you get X amount of punya for getting a step well or a lake made for water, you get 100x benefit if you maintain an existing one.
Oh yeah, yeah, very
So
true.
yeah, so I guess the same goes for trees. You
Yes,
can
yes,
plant
yes.
it once, but it takes a lot more effort to maintain them. So tell me, how do you
A
maintain? So
lot.
when you run these plantation drives, and then after that, how do you make sure that those trees live?
Yeah, so basically what we do is anywhere we plant, we have a dedicated volunteers who are making sure that these trees are taken care of on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
So we plant during summer,
Mm-hmm.
and then we make sure that we plant during monsoon. We
Mm-hmm.
plant during monsoon, and then we make sure that the trees are taken care during summer. So we have
Okay.
dedicated gardeners who
Mm-hmm.
take care of these trees for
Mm-hmm.
2 years minimum.
Okay. And after 2 years, they're kind of self-sustainable.
After 2 years, they are stable enough to stable enough to grow. But we still
Okay.
visit them after that. But
Okay.
first 2 years are the most important period, right?
Okay.
After that, we just
Mm-hmm.
visit them regularly and just see that they are doing good. But yes,
Mm-hmm.
first 2 years are very crucial.
Okay. So tell us about the impact you've created or any stories that you can share about the impact the tree plantation drives have created in societies.
Recently we have been doing a lot of plantations with our farmers in rural
Mm-hmm.
spaces,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have seen that the farmers are, they understand these things a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, they are more connected to nature than we are. This is something we should learn,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there has been instances where the farmer benefited a lot from the trees that we have planted.
Mm-hmm.
right? For example, we created a forest in a rural space
Mm-hmm.
that brought bees to the areas,
Mm-hmm.
which means, the farmer next to the forest earlier were
Mm-hmm.
using pollinators,
Mm-hmm.
right, to grow onions.
Mm-hmm.
But after we created the forest,
Mm-hmm.
bees came naturally, and the farmer did not had to use pollinators,
Mm-hmm.
right? Things were happening naturally for the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an amazing, amazing, amazing thing to tell to people, that see, just look at the importance of
Mm-hmm.
what these trees have done,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just a small area of plantation, and it brought so much benefit to a farmer.
Right.
So that is something which was amazing. Then another story that I could remember again from a rural space is that back in 2015 I planted about 4,000 mango trees with about 11 farmers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of those farmers last year sold about 6 ton of mangoes.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
That was so amazing to even learn that,
Mm-hmm.
we planted these mango trees with the farmer, and he sold 6 ton of mangoes, and it will just increase as with
Mm-hmm.
every passing year,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's so amazing to see that people are getting so much benefit out of these trees,
Right.
right? Similarly, there have been numerous stories from urban spaces also, where people, now people just, every year we get
Mm-hmm.
hundreds and hundreds of emails where people are waiting. They say that we are waiting to plant trees with you guys, right? Because we keep
Interesting.
sharing pictures, we keep telling them that, okay, this is how the forest looks,
Mm-hmm.
the forest where you planted saplings, right?
Right.
That motivates them even more. And every year we get some volunteers who are very, very consistent, and every year they come with their kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? They will make sure they bring their kids together, because
Mm-hmm.
then in 2 3 years when they come back with their kids, they can see a full forest grown, in the city itself.
Right.
So these are some of the very, they give motivation to us also, right?
Mm.
Even though I'm so passionate, but sometimes, we will also be, there are challenges to
Yeah.
everything, right? We also will
No,
face challenges.
inspiration is mutual.
Yes,
It's a spiral that grows on.
that's true. That's true.
Right. Right.
So, we get motivated a lot when we see such things happening around us, that, okay, we
Mm-hmm.
did this,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the return. Like,
Okay.
for example, we rejuvenated lakes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Tell us one story of one lake rejuvenation, like a case study. One lake rejuvenation, if you can speak about.
sure. So lake rejuvenations are very complex. They are more complex than tree plantations,
Mm-hmm.
right? Tree plantations have their own challenges,
Mm-hmm.
but lake rejuvenations have a completely different challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and they are exponential also. They're not simple,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what I have seen with lake rejuvenation is that when you work with people,
Mm-hmm.
right, the impact is much more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the lakes we have rejuvenated in Bangalore so far, you won't believe, in one lake,
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to the gentleman for about 4 years
Mm-hmm.
before I could get funds to rejuvenate the lake.
Mm-hmm.
So this shows how much interested people are.
Mm-hmm.
So this gentleman around near Chudasandra Lake, his name is Rakesh. He wanted to do something for his lake, a
Mm-hmm.
lake in front of his house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And back in 2017, he saw that we are supporting lakes and whatnot. He reached out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you won't believe that this discussion started in 2020, 18, right? The lake got rejuvenated this year, or you
Mm-hmm.
can say the end of last year,
Right. Can
right?
you walk us through the process of lake rejuvenation at a very high level? What does the process
Yeah,
of lake rejuvenation involve?
sure. So the process starts with first finding a lake
Mm-hmm.
that needs help,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once that is done, we approach the government authorities.
Mm-hmm.
We ask them that, this lake is in a bad shape.
Mm-hmm.
We would be okay to rejuvenate the lake if you help us.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first. There has to be a handshake between government authorities and us, that, okay, we have to come together to make it work.
Okay,
That
sure.
is the very first step. Without that, nothing should happen. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
the first thing is that we go and tell first people have to be there with us,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how it all starts. And
Mm-hmm.
then the government authorities have to be with us. We all have to come together to
Mm-hmm.
make sure a successful project is done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Once this happens,
Mm-hmm.
usually we do the survey of the lake
Mm-hmm.
to find out what is the lake boundary.
Mm-hmm.
If there are any encroachments, we get
Mm-hmm.
them removed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. because we don't want to just rejuvenate without taking care of things around the lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we get all of those things done, and then we start the desilting. Over decades,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of silts get accumulated into the lake bed
Mm-hmm.
that prevents water from going down.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to remove that top layer, and urban lakes have been polluted as well. They will have a lot of pollutant into the lake. So all of that needs to be removed. The silt has to be removed,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is a very basic process in lake rejuvenation.
Mm-hmm.
And then because we are doing this lake, if we are doing these lakes in urban spaces, you have to do things which are needed by people also. For example, if there is a small area where people can walk,
Mm-hmm.
if there is a small area where kids can enjoy a play area, if there is a small area where cattle can do grazing, right? A
Mm-hmm.
small area where fishermen can fish. So it has to be, lakes are meant for many things that go around on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
So we make a plan that, okay, this lake will have these things. If there is a sewage coming to the lake, how are we taking care of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once we have taken care of sewage, how we ensure that the water still comes into the lake. Then we talk about making wetlands,
Mm-hmm.
which will clean the sewage water, whatever comes in, and it will make sure that good water goes into the lake,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have to look into all of these things. How many
Mm-hmm.
inlets are there in the lake? How many outlets are there? If you know, Bangalore lakes are all connected
Mm-hmm.
from upstream to downstream and so on, right? So water comes in, it
Mm-hmm.
stays, and then towards from the other end, it goes out also. So
Mm-hmm.
this flow has to go on. We cannot
Mm-hmm.
break the chain.
Right.
The moment we break the chain, that means we will be causing a lot of ecological imbalances.
Right.
So these are the basic steps. Identify a lake,
Mm-hmm.
right? Make sure people are with you, the government authorities are with you.
Mm-hmm.
We find a donor who is ready to invest money for the rejuvenation of the lake,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we start the work. We
Okay.
do a lot of testing around the lake.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do a lot of testing, right? We have to do a lot of soil testing. We have
Mm-hmm.
to do testing of the area where we are creating the walking bund and so on. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of testing goes on. And
Mm-hmm.
then we make sure that the best quality work is done,
Mm-hmm.
because what we do now has to stay for decades and decades together. And the one very most important thing is, and it again comes back to one thing that we spoke earlier,
Mm-hmm.
lake rejuvenation is done. What about maintenance, right?
Right.
If after 4 years the lake comes back to the same shape as it was, 2 years back, then there is no use of rejuvenating the lake, right? All the money, all the efforts have gone into waste. So
Right.
what we do is we
Mm-hmm.
make people accountable for these lakes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's when the community collaboration comes in. That is
Okay.
the most important piece.
Mm-hmm.
Community has to be with you, because then they become caretaker of these lakes,
Right.
right? I may rejuvenate 10 lakes, but I may not be able to present in all the 10 lakes after 4 years, 5 years, right?
Right.
It's the people, it's for the people, and the people have to take care of it. So
So,
community and involvement is most important.
right. So I would like to understand, let's say I engage you to rejuvenate a lake, and then
Mhm.
you rejuvenate and hand it back to me. Then
Mhm.
what are the key things in that maintenance process?
Yes. So basically, the most important thing will be obviously to making sure that nobody damages the lake in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which
You
means
have to
not
safeguard the
throwing
lake.
garbage, not throwing
Not
any.
throwing garbage, because now if you have cleaned up everything,
Mm-hmm.
if again garbage goes into the lake, then there is no use,
Right.
right? So we have to make sure that people follow some rules and regulations,
Right.
right? That
Mm-hmm.
the lake has to be kept as clean as our homes,
Right.
right? That's how it has to be. So
Right.
that is a very basic maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
The second is, over the period, if there has been, some weed that gets collected, because this is all natural process, right?
Right.
They needs to be cleaned.
Okay.
Now we create sedimentation ponds in the lake,
Okay.
which means whenever water is coming from out,
Mm-hmm.
it carries a lot of sediments.
Mm-hmm.
And over a period of time, if it goes into the lake, it will again form a lot of silt in the lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the inlets, there are
Mm-hmm.
sedimentation ponds. They need to be cleaned regularly.
Okay.
That is an item that needs to be done, so that your lake remains good for a longer period of time,
Okay.
right? So there are these lot of maintenance that needs to be done, taking care of the trees that we have planted, taking care
Mm-hmm.
of all the hedges and the plants that we have planted,
Mm-hmm.
right? Making sure the lake is clean,
Mm-hmm.
making sure, so because we are creating kids play areas, we
Mm-hmm.
are creating grazing land, making sure that all of these facilities that have been added to the lake to engage people there
Mm-hmm.
are taken care of. Those are the
Right.
most basic things that we have to take care of.
Right. Let me share one of my wish list items with you. And
Hmm.
I mean, I live in an apartment complex which has two lakes on two sides of it, and one of it is kind of rejuvenated, the other is being rejuvenated for last 4 years, and things have not really moved. uh, so but one of my wish list items is to see lotus growing in the lakes. Now, is that
Hmm.
a possibility? I've not seen that in any Bangalore lake.
No, it is. It can be a possibility. We do need still water there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it is
Mm-hmm.
a possibility. And if I'm not wrong, I have seen some lakes, lotus have grown in some lakes. So yes, it is a possibility.
It is a
Not a
possibility.
not a tough thing. Yeah.
Not a, it should not be, because lotus grows
Yeah, yeah,
pretty easily in across
yeah, yeah,
India. But
yeah,
we've
yeah.
not seen that happen. So can you make that happen in some lakes?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like as I said, right, our
Mm-hmm.
the lakes that we are rejuvenating is totally, tied up with people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if people want something, for sure it can happen, because
Okay.
people then become the caretaker of the lake. So,
Right.
if you feel lotus should be grown and it is important, it is helpful and whatnot, then yeah, why not,
Okay.
right?
Sure. So now let's come to your key challenges that you face.
Hmm.
What are your biggest challenges in this process? I'm sure you've smoothened out a lot of them over
Yes.
years. But what were, you can also talk about what were your initial challenges, how you dealt with them, and what are your current challenges?
I mean, one of the challenge that have always been is to make people understand why we are doing these things,
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody have the same frequency.
Mm-hmm.
For them, trees don't matter,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes challenging to handle such people.
Mm-hmm.
And when such peoples are in places which are, once such people are the decision makers of some places, then it becomes very challenging. So
Mm-hmm.
handling people is the biggest challenge that we face.
Mm-hmm.
But now, because we have done so much work,
Mm-hmm.
right? The next challenge that we face is making sure that every year we make plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, for 2024, the
Mm-hmm.
plan is to plant 30 lakh trees,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and these 30 lakh trees have to be planted in 3 months of monsoon,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
the one of the challenge then it becomes is that how do we manage these 30 lakh saplings? How do we plant them? And then
Mm-hmm.
how do we take care of them?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of monetary support is needed for that?
Mm-hmm.
From where that monetary support will come?
Mm-hmm.
Will we get that monitoring support in time or not, and so on. So
Mm-hmm.
these are the challenges that we face as of now. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, in the early days, when I remember we used
Mm-hmm.
to arrange for a tree plantation drive, and in the morning somebody used to come and used to say that, okay, no, 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 no planting trees here.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen challenges where people said that, okay, don't plant trees outside my house because then there will be too many leaves and I will have to completely every day clean them.
Mm-hmm.
We have faced challenges where people said that this is my parking space, do not plant trees here, right? So
Mm-hmm.
these are more, challenges have been more people based,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these days the challenge that we face are is, how do we make sure that since we are planting so many trees year after year,
Mm-hmm.
how do we make sure that these trees survive
Mm-hmm.
and these are bringing the benefits that we have thought of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So planning it,
Mm-hmm.
executing it,
Mm-hmm.
arranging funds for the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Asking people to donate for the same.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the challenges that we face as of now. But
Okay.
thankfully, with God's grace,
Mm-hmm.
every year we have been successful.
Mm-hmm.
And last year we were able to plant about 7-8 lakh saplings. This year the target is 30 lakh saplings. So let's
Wonderful.
see, let's see how it goes.
And this is all in and around Bangalore?
No, this is across the nation now. So what started in Bangalore by planting one trees in 2007
Mm-hmm.
has now grown into an initiative where we are working in 10 different states.
Oh,
So it's
wonderful.
not just Bangalore initiative now.
Mm-hmm.
We are planting saplings in 10 different states. So what
Right.
started with just one sapling,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully this year it will be 30 lakh saplings.
Okay. Great. So, what are the key lessons that you have learned in this process of running this organization for almost 17 years now? What are your key learnings?
I mean, there have been many,
Mm-hmm.
but to list a few
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, one of the biggest learning is that we have to do a lot more, right? This is not enough, because the
Mm-hmm.
more you are into it, and that's when you realize that it's not
Mm-hmm.
enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is why we set our target very high. By
Mm-hmm.
2030, we hope to plant 100 crore sapling,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How that will happen, time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, one of the very key learning is that a lot needs to be done.
Mhm.
and we are going into a space, or we are going into a phase
Mhm.
where there might be more and more catastrophic challenges waiting for us,
Mhm.
right? And this is scientifically backed. Scientists have given us time till 2030,
Mhm.
right? That
Mhm.
we have to improve things by 2030, otherwise there will be no point of return, right? So
Mhm.
one of the key learning is a lot needs to be done.
Mhm.
That is one of the thing.
Mhm.
The second one of the important, or second learning was that even though I started planting trees from urban spaces,
Mhm.
right, I feel there is a lot more need in the rural spaces,
Mhm.
because those rural spaces will be urban spaces in decades to come.
Right.
If we don't do things there now, again they will be like other cities which are totally concrete now,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
hence we focus a lot on rural spaces. I mean, we do a lot in urban spaces,
Mhm.
but we want to do a lot more in rural spaces
Okay.
because the need is more there.
If somebody wants to replicate what Say Trees is doing,
Mhm.
what would be your advice to them, and what are, the key steps that they need to take care of?
Sure, and many people do that. Many people
Mhm.
have reached out to me in past where they have asked, how can they start such an initiative in their own city,
Mhm.
right? So the following are the things that I always tell them.
Mhm.
Start small,
Mhm.
right? Find a place where you feel a tree can grow.
Mhm.
Okay, even if you plant one, not a problem.
Mhm.
You find a space where the
Mhm.
tree will be safe, and a
Mhm.
place where you'll be able to maintain the sapling for at least two
Mhm.
years,
Mhm.
right? And then just replicate this
Mhm.
year after year. Don't think about just planting 10,000 saplings in the first year, because it doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
Okay, it may look very easy, that
Mhm.
okay, I just need to dig a pit, plant the sapling, and it's done. No, it may look very easy, but it's extremely hard to make sure that this sapling that you planted now is a tree 10 years from now,
Mhm.
right? So I always tell them, start small,
Mhm.
find places within your reach which
Mhm.
you feel can take trees, and places where you will be able to maintain them.
Mhm.
And first maintain them for initial 2 3 years,
Mhm.
and then slowly and steadily reach out to more and more people. Again, it's a war against climate change. It
Mhm.
cannot be fought alone.
Mhm.
We need many people with us. That's how cities also started. I made sure that people join hands, like-minded people come together.
Mhm.
The second step would be make sure to find people
Mhm.
who feel the same about environment, who are
Mhm.
equally passionate. Maybe they don't know what to do,
Mhm.
right? But bring them together and then start planting more.
Mhm.
That's how Setri journey, has started, and that's how,
Mhm.
we have grown this much in 17 years, right? It took us 17 years to come where we are,
Mhm.
right? But these have been solid 17 years who have led and now we have a very strong base on ground,
Mhm.
and the very strong work that we can show that okay, this is what we have done, and now we can think of growing. So yes, find places,
Mhm.
start planting and taking care of these saplings, then find
Mhm.
people who can join hands,
Mhm.
and then slowly spread the same thing.
Mhm.
Involve people, make sure people join you,
Mhm.
make sure people are spending time in all of these things, and then
Right.
slowly and steadily you will see that it grows.
Great. And what are the ways in which people can join Say Trees and join your efforts?
Yeah, so there are multiple ways. Obviously, we are very active in social media,
Mhm.
but we have our email address where people can join us. People can
Mhm.
reach out to us at info@setrees.org.
Mhm.
That is the best way to reach out to us,
Mhm.
right? People can reach out to us, and then we are active in social media so much. People can tweet to us. We'll be
Mhm.
there,
Mhm.
and our office is in Bangalore. People
Mhm.
can reach out to us in our office,
Mhm.
and then we make a lot of volunteering events in Bangalore.
Mhm.
People can join us, and
Mhm.
that's how it all starts. People join us and make sure that they are there with us, and they join us every time and
Mhm.
plant sapling with us. That's how they get connected to us,
Mhm.
and then they keep planting saplings with us. We have a group of people, or we have a Google group where people have joined. Every
Mhm.
time we have an event, we send mail to all of them, and then
Okay.
they come and join us. That's how it has been. It's very simple. We have made it very simple that people should not, it should be very easy for someone to join us and plant sapling with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And stay with us. Or any other way in which people can help you apart from being volunteers?
So there are many things people
Mhm.
can help us in. For
Mhm.
example, volunteering is one
Tell me
obviously
top
thing that.
three.
So top three would be volunteer with us.
Mhm.
Second is spread the word.
Mhm.
I always say spread the word. People
Mhm.
have to know what is going around.
Mm-hmm.
and what more needs to be done.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing is donate if possible.
Okay, great. Great, Kapil. Great talking to you. And may you build a tribe of many couples and many say trees. And may we bring back the green cover on the Mother Earth. It's not for Mother Earth. You know, most people think that we are doing it for Mother Earth. Mother Earth will survive with or without us. We are
That is true.
actually doing it for ourselves. We are
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
it for human tribe to survive. We need trees
yeah.
in various ways. So we're doing it for ourselves, for our future generations. So thank you so much for doing what you do. And thank you for coming on Detours. I will stay in touch with you and hopefully we'll do
Sure,
some work together.
sure.
Namaste.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for joining us on Detours. You can also join us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Our handle is IndiTales, INDITALES. See you soon.